Pringle.
Thank you, Councillor. Minister, this question is in relation to the housing assistance payment in County Donegal, which has started to be rolled out in the last 4 or 5 weeks, and just in relation to the possibility to increase the levels of the HAP payments.
I wish to thank the Deputy for the question. The housing assistance payment has been rolled out to all categories of households in the 13 local authority areas, including Donegal, and there are now over 2,600 households nationally in receipt of the payment. HAP has been operational in the administrative area of Donegal County Council since the 25th of May this year, and in the 7 weeks since it has been introduced, over 40 households have been accommodated under the scheme in Donegal. I am pleased with this progress, and I would like to commend that particular local authority on its engagement with the scheme to date. In fact, of the 6 local authorities that have been added, Donegal is far performing the best in the first few weeks. So I think the local authority does deserve to be commended on their activity. The maximum rent limits for different household classes that apply in each local authority where HAP has been commenced are set out in regulations and are currently based on the rent supplement limits as set out by the Department of Social Protection. In prescribing these limits, household size and prevailing rents in the relevant areas are taken into consideration. In the context of the implementation of HAP, my department works closely with the Department of Social Protection and monitors data gathered by the HAP pilot authorities in relation to the rent limits applying and any difficulties that may arise. The operation of HAP in Donegal County Council will be kept under active review in this context.
Minister, the levels set for the HAP are in line with the rent assistance, and I suppose the only positive thing about the HAP is that you don't get refused if you're paying a rent that's above the HAP level assent. That's the only positive difference. The rents are not based on the market in the local areas. In County Donegal this morning, there was 5 properties available in the entire county under the rent limit or the HAP limit for a family with 1 child. 5 in a county the size of Donegal, with 160,000 people in the population and over 2,500 people on the housing list. The HAP limits simply aren't high enough, and the HAP limits need to be increased. And if you're serious about it, because while the people aren't turned down for being over the limit, people are still struggling to meet those rents and still have to pay the landlord the difference between the HAP limit and the amount that the council has paid. And I've no doubt that Donegal County Council will work the scheme very well, because at least the housing office in Donegal County Council have always been very proactive. There's no doubt about that. But if you're serious about it and serious about the success of this scheme, the limits do need to be increased to reflect what is actually happening on the ground. And a simple look within your department, a 2-minute search on daft.ie will show to you the extent of the lack of properties available within the limits of the schemes.
Thank you.
Can I say to the Deputy, the figures speak for themselves, especially in relation to Donegal. In the 7 weeks since HAP has been rolled out, and it is, it's only the second wave of HAP local authorities, and Donegal is one of those. In those 7 weeks, over 40 households have been accommodated, and it's, that proves in itself that it's working quite well in Donegal. And we have ambitious targets for HAP, and we will be monitoring very closely with the Department of Social Protection the rent limits, and we actively review that constantly. And as I was explaining earlier to Deputy Murphy, in South Dublin County Council, where it was proven to us that there was a strong demand for flexibility, we did apply that discretion. And if that arises in other local authority areas, the same will apply. But we are keeping it under active review, Deputy, and I think Donegal are performing quite well, and we expect it to continue to engage with many more households in a successful HAP accommodation scheme.
Minister, in the last 7 weeks, if HAP hadn't been rolled out in Donegal, 40 people would have got rent allowance in Donegal, because they would have put in on their forms that they were under the rent limits, and they would have got approved and they would have got it. So I mean, that bears no reality to the situation on the ground at all. I mean, I'd be interested to see if you would go back and ask Donegal County Council, of those 40 people, how many of them was the rent actually at or below the HAP limit. That would be a very interesting question, and that would show you first-hand from your own officials what the actual situation is. I mean, you can get an official in your department, spend 2 minutes on the computer, and they'll see what the situation is in relation to rent limits and whether the HAP limit is suitable or not. So that would be a very simple exercise for you to do, and it would show that the limits aren't viable and aren't realistic in terms of what HAP is for anybody.
Minister.
Well, as the Deputy will know, the Department of Social Protection have issued instructions to their local staff that they use discretion as it is required. But, you know, in the overall sense, we have ambitious targets for HAP right around the country, and we're rolling it out to a number of local authorities. The second wave has just been announced, and Donegal is one of 6 local authorities in that second wave. These are new applicants that are joining the scheme in HAP, and we will also be transferring people that are on rent supplement into the HAP scheme as well. And, you know, that will be ongoing, and we will. I've committed to the Deputy, and we will be reviewing, and we actively review and evaluate how successful the scheme is in each area. And if problems do arise, well, then we will engage on that basis, as we have done in South Dublin County Council. So we are committed. We want a successful, efficient HAP scheme. It is new. It is taking time for people to understand it and to engage in it. But once that's done, and I think Limerick City and County Council have proven it, where they have, I think it's over 400. Now, I stand corrected on that figure. I'm not looking at it in front of me. But they have over 400 people on their HAP scheme and are continually engaging to ensure that there's more people joining the scheme almost on a daily basis, as are the other local authorities as well.
Thank you. Question number 8, the name of Deputy Daly.
Thanks.